Okay, so today we are going to make a paper sculpture in the style of Frank Stella. First thing we need to do is to make the painting, because he called these painted sculptures. And you're going to pick one color group that you can represent in two different ways. So I'm just going to do an easy one. I'm doing warm and cool colors. One side is going to be warm colors, and the other side is going to be cool colors. Now, what you might have seen me do is add just a couple drops of water into these timber cakes. These work a lot like watercolors. So you just add some water and then it paints on. So we have these little bottles of water. If your timber cake gets a little dried out, just add a couple of drops at a time, not a whole lot, just a couple drops, and then just paint in using only one color group. So here I'm using warm colors, so I'm only using red, orange, and yellow. And then on the other side, I will only use cool colors. Now you could do other color groups. You could do analogous colors, you could do split complementary colors. It is up to you on what color group you're going to use, but you need to show two examples of the color group. So, since warm and cool colors is one color group, I am showing it in two different ways by having my warm colors on one side and my cool colors on another side. Now I'm using swirly lines, really organic lines on my warm color side, and then I'm going to use angular lines on my cool colors, just to also give it a little bit of difference. Now you just flip the paper right over because the timber cakes dry very, very quickly. And they also don't stick to the paper, which makes them really great for this project because we can just flip that paper over and we're going to be making two paintings, one on one side and one on the other side, with them representing two examples of the same color group. Now another thing that you could do is you could do all primary on one side and all secondary on the other side. Or you could do a split complementary where you would have say all different kinds of purples on one side and then yellow, green, and yellow, orange on the other side. That would be an example of split complementary. But whatever you decide to do, just make sure that you fill the page up with that color group. So really make sure that you're painting in neatly and completely in an abstract way. We want these paintings to be abstract, so don't make like a portrait or a landscape or something like that. Just making some lines and then filling those spaces in that the lines create in a very abstract way. Almost done here, and see, I've only used cool colors, purples, blues, and greens. This is probably the easiest color group to do, and that is what we'll do on the first day of this sculpture project. Put that in the drying rack. Now on the second day, it's already dry, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut these long lines. The longer the line, the better it will be. So figure out a way that you can cut a long line without cutting the middle or cutting anything off. It has to stay connected. So the whole paper has to stay connected. Spirals are fantastic ways to do this. So see how that's all still connected. Nothing has come off the paper. I haven't cut anything out or off. I'm just cutting lines into the paper. Just cutting those lines into the paper. Don't cut out the middle and don't cut anything off. So that middle stays as is. So see, and then it just lays flat. It looks like a paper, but I still have that middle there. Then take your glue and you're going to start wrapping and gluing those lines around. Now the glue, we're using liquid glue, and since we want to be able to move on and not just hold the glue for a whole minute, we're going to use our paper clips. And we're just going to glue and then paper clip them together while the glue dries. Just like that. All right, just twisting that around and gluing it and then adding a paper clip. Now, if you've never used a paper clip before, let me show you how it's done. All right, so a paper clip has 2 bumps on one side and 1 bump on the other side. And you slip the paper between the 2 bumps. That's how you use a paper clip, just like that. Continuing to just find interesting ways to glue my different lines together so that it becomes 3-dimensional. So we're turning this flat paper into forms, right? We're creating form. We're creating a sculpture. All right, we're just creating that sculpture and that form. Putting the paper clips on, and then once the glue is dried, then we can take those paper clips off. So all the sculpting should be done in one class period. Just twisting and finding it. Now you want to make sure that your sculpture isn't too closed off. You don't want it to be too closed form. You want to be more open, but you also don't want it to be too open. So you want to find a nice balance between having closed off spaces and having open spaces. Making sure that there's plenty for the eye to look at. Some nice big empty spaces and also some spaces that are full of lines. Finding good places that will juxtapose. Then, while that glue is still drying, get a big white piece of paper and you're going to glue the sculpture onto the base, because remember, these Frank Stella sculptures are really more like reliefs because they do hang on walls. And just put a few dots of glue where the sculpture is going to touch the base. Then write your name in the bottom corner so I know how to hang it. All right, here's mine and here's how this one looks, and I know that yours is going to look incredible too.